Ma'am, I can't get past the bull. Can you take me to school? The 6-year-old's whisper was desperate, terrified. Teacher Helena Morais looked at little Sofia, exhausted, trembling, arriving at school 17 minutes early. Again. The child was eating breakfast from her backpack. Again. But this time Sofia was crying, and when Helena asked why, the answer broke her heart. Sofia had been walking alone through farm fields every morning, in the dark, for months, past a massive bull that watched her every move, over 2 kilometers, at 6 years old, and nobody knew, nobody had noticed, until that whispered plea. What Helena discovered next revealed a hidden crisis affecting dozens of families in their small Oklahoma town, and what started with one scared child and one massive bull would spark a movement that changed everything. Because sometimes the bravest thing a child can do is whisper for help. This is their story. The morning bell hadn't rung yet at Riverside Elementary School in rural Oklahoma, but teacher Helena Morais was already at her desk, organizing lesson plans for her 2nd grade class. At 32, with 7 years of teaching experience, Helena thought she'd seen every variation of childhood struggle: poverty, neglect, learning disabilities, family chaos. But nothing had prepared her for what was about to walk through her classroom door. Little Sofia Ferreira appeared in the doorway at 7:43 a.m., a full 17 minutes before the first bell. The 6-year-old was breathing hard, her cheeks flushed red despite the cool October morning. Her backpack, far too large for her small frame, hung crooked on one shoulder, and her shoes were caked with red Oklahoma mud. But it was Sofia's eyes that stopped Helena mid-motion. They were wide with exhaustion and something else, fear that hadn't quite faded yet. "Sofia, sweetheart, you're here early," Helena said gently, setting down her coffee. "Come sit down. Catch your breath." Sofia shuffled into the classroom, her small body trembling slightly. She sat in her usual desk, front row, right side, and pulled out a crumpled juice box and a smashed granola bar from her backpack. Breakfast. Helena watched, concern growing. This was the 3rd time this week Sofia had arrived early, already eating when she got to school. And every time, the child looked exhausted, frightened, on the verge of tears. "Sofia, how did you get to school this morning?" Helena asked, moving to sit in the desk beside her student. The little girl chewed her granola bar slowly, not meeting her teacher's eyes. "I walked to the bus stop, Miss Helena." "Walked? Where's your bus stop, honey?" "By Mr. Thompson's farm, near the big road." Sofia's voice was barely above a whisper. Helena knew the area. This was deep rural Oklahoma, where properties stretched for acres and near the big road could mean anything. "And how far is that from your house?" Sofia shrugged, still not looking up. "I don't know. I walk for a long time." Something in the child's voice, resignation mixed with fear, made Helena's teacher instincts scream that something was very wrong. "Sofia, does someone walk with you?" The little girl shook her head, her black ponytail swaying. "Mama and Papa leave for work early, before it gets light. They work at the chicken factory in Claremore. They don't come home until dark." Helena's chest tightened. "So, you walk alone? Every morning?" Sofia nodded, and then, as if the words had been building up for weeks, they came tumbling out in a rushed whisper. "And there's a bull, Miss Helena. A big, big bull. He's always in the field I have to walk through. He watches me. Sometimes he walks toward me and I have to run, and I'm so scared he's going to chase me." Her voice broke and tears spilled down her cheeks. Helena immediately pulled the child into a hug, feeling Sofia's small body shake with sobs that sounded like they'd been held in for far too long. "Shh, it's okay. You're safe now. You're safe here," Helena murmured, her mind racing. A 6-year-old walking alone through farm fields, past aggressive livestock, before sunrise, every single day, and no one knew. No one was watching. No one was protecting her. "Sofia," Helena said gently, pulling back to look at the child's tear-streaked face. "This morning, before you came to school, tell me exactly what happened." "Start from when you woke up," Sofia sniffled, wiping her nose with the back of her hand. "I woke up when Mama's alarm went off. It was still dark. Mama made me toast and put it in a bag with the juice box. Then Mama and Papa left in their truck. What time was that? The clock said 5:30. 5:30 in the morning. A 6-year-old, alone in a house in the dark. Then what? Helena prompted, though her heart was already breaking. I waited until it got a little light. Mama says I can't leave when it's too dark because I might get lost. So I waited by the window until I could see. Then I put on my backpack and locked the door like Mama showed me. And then you walked to the bus stop? Sofia nodded. I have to go through our field, then through the fence, then through Mr. Peterson's field. That's where the bull is. He's always there, Miss Helena, always watching. This morning, he was close to the fence, and I had to run really fast because he started walking toward me. Helena felt sick. How long does it take you to walk to the bus stop? I don't know. A long time. The sun is up when I get there. Helena pulled out her phone and opened a map application. Sofia, can you show me where you live? The little girl pointed to a rural route about 1.5 miles from the school, but the nearest school bus stop was on Highway 20, a full mile beyond that. Helena calculated quickly. A 6-year-old child was walking over 2 kilometers every morning, alone, through private farmland, past potentially dangerous livestock just to catch a school bus. And you do this every day, even when it's cold or raining? Sofia nodded solemnly. Mama says I have to go to school. Education is important, but Miss Helena... Her voice dropped to a terrified whisper. This morning the bull almost got me. I had to climb through the fence really fast and I ripped my jacket. She turned slightly, showing a long tear in the cheap fabric of her pink jacket. Helena's hands clenched into fists. This was neglect. Unintentional, perhaps, born of desperate poverty and impossible work schedules, but neglect nonetheless. Other students were beginning to arrive now, filling the classroom with noise and energy. Sofia quickly wiped her tears and pulled out her homework, trying to look normal, trying to blend in. But Helena saw what others might miss. The exhaustion, the fear still lingering in the child's eyes, the way her hands trembled slightly as she opened her notebook. As the morning bell rang and Helena began taking attendance, her mind was already working. She needed to contact Sofia's parents. She needed to see the route the child was walking. She needed to understand the full scope of what was happening. But most importantly, she needed to make sure that tomorrow morning, little Sofia Ferreira wouldn't have to face that walk alone. Because that's what teachers did. They didn't just teach reading and math, they protected their students, they fought for them. They noticed when everyone else was too busy or too tired or too overwhelmed to see that a child was suffering. And Sofia was suffering. Silently. Bravely. Alone. Not anymore, Helena vowed. Not one more day. Helena couldn't focus on teaching that morning. While her second graders worked on their reading assignment, her eyes kept drifting to Sofia, who sat quietly at her desk, occasionally nodding off before jerking awake. The exhaustion was written all over the child's small face. During lunch break, while the children ate in the cafeteria, Helena made 2 phone calls. The first was to the school administration office. Maria, it's Helena Morais from room 14. I need the contact information for Sofia Ferreira's parents. We have a situation that requires immediate attention. The secretary, Maria Gonzalez, an older woman who'd worked at Riverside Elementary for 20 years, pulled up the file. Let's see. Parents are Rodrigo and Lucia Ferreira, both listed as working at Claremore Poultry Processing. Phone number is... Oh, that's interesting. It says no cell phone, contact only through work number during breaks. Helena's heart sank further. The family was so poor they couldn't even afford cell phones. Can you give me that work number? Her second call went to the poultry plant. After being transferred 3 times, she finally reached a supervisor who agreed to pass a message to Lucia Ferreira during her afternoon break. Tell her it's about Sofia's school situation. Not an emergency, but important. Please have her call back as soon as possible. That afternoon, during quiet reading time, Helena's classroom phone rang. She stepped into the hallway to take it. Hello? This is Lucia Ferreira. The woman's voice was tight with worry, speaking English with a heavy accent. Is Sofia okay? Is she sick? Did something happen? Sofia is fine, Mrs. Ferreira. She's healthy and safe, but I need to talk to you about how she's getting to school. There was a pause. She takes the bus. She walks to the bus stop like we taught her. Helena chose her words carefully. Mrs. Ferreira, Sofia told me this morning that she walks alone through farm fields, past a bull that frightens her very much. She's walking over 2 kilometers every morning by herself. Is that correct? The silence on the other end was heavy. When Lucia finally spoke, her voice cracked. We don't have a choice, Miss Helena. My husband and I, we start work at 6 in the morning. We finish at 6 at night. The factory is 30 minutes away. If we don't work these hours, we don't have jobs. If we don't have jobs, we don't eat. I understand, Mrs. Ferreira. I'm not calling to judge or criticize. I'm calling because I want to help. Can you tell me about where you live? About this route Sofia walks? Lucia's voice trembled. We rent a small house on the Peterson farm property. It's cheap because it's far from everything. The landlord, Mr. Peterson, he owns the big field between our house and the main road. That's where his bull lives. The bull, he's not mean, but he's very big. Sofia, she's so small, she's afraid. Does the bull ever chase her or threaten her? No, he watches her, stands near the path. Sofia says he's scary because he's so big and makes loud sounds. But Mr. Peterson says the bull is gentle, just curious about people. Still, for a little girl alone. Lucia's voice broke completely. I know it's not good. I know. But what can we do? We can't afford to live closer to town. We can't afford a car that works good enough to drop her off. We can't afford to miss work to walk with her. Helena closed her eyes, fighting back tears. This wasn't neglect born of carelessness. This was poverty. Brutal, unforgiving poverty that forced impossible choices. Mrs. Ferreira, starting tomorrow, I'm going to pick Sofia up in the morning and bring her to school, and I'll take her home in the afternoon. No cost to you. I drive right past your area anyway. The silence stretched so long, Helena thought the connection had dropped. Then she heard quiet sobbing. You would do this? For my daughter? We can't pay you. I don't want payment. I want Sofia to be safe and not frightened every morning. Can you give me your exact address? After hanging up, Helena sat in the hallway for a moment, processing everything. Then she returned to her classroom, where Sofia was coloring quietly at her desk, her small shoulders hunched with exhaustion. That afternoon, after dismissing her class, Helena made one more decision. She needed to see this route for herself. She needed to understand exactly what Sofia faced every day. She drove to the address Lucia had given her, a tiny, weathered house at the far edge of Peterson's property. The house was clean but desperately poor. Faded curtains, a sagging porch, a yard with more dirt than grass. From there, Helena walked the route Sofia took every morning. Through the backyard, through a gap in the fence, into Peterson's vast grazing field. The path was worn, evidence that Sofia had walked it many, many times. And there, about halfway across the field, stood the bull. He was enormous, a Charolais breed, white and massive, easily 2,000 pounds. When he saw Helena, he lifted his head, watching her with dark, curious eyes. Helena froze. She understood immediately why a 6-year-old child would be terrified. The bull wasn't aggressive. He didn't charge or bellow, but his sheer size was intimidating. He took a few steps closer, still watching, his presence overwhelming. Helena stood her ground, speaking softly. Easy there, big guy. I'm just passing through. The bull stopped about 20 feet away, still watching. Not threatening, just present, watching, curious. Helena continued walking, her heart pounding. The bull followed at a distance, never approaching closer, but never looking away either. When she finally reached the far fence and climbed through to the main road where the bus stop stood, she turned back. The bull was still there, standing in the field, watching. She understood now. This animal wasn't dangerous, but for a small child, alone in the pre-dawn darkness, walking through a field with a massive creature watching her every move, it would be terrifying. Helena pulled out her phone and made one more call. This time to Mr. Peterson, the landowner. Mr. Peterson, this is Helena Morais. I'm a teacher at Riverside Elementary. I need to talk to you about your tenant's daughter and the route she walks through your field every morning. The conversation that followed would change everything. Because Mr. Peterson, a 72-year-old widowed rancher, had no idea a child was walking through his field twice a day. Had no idea his bull, gentle as he was terrifying a little girl. That Ferreira family, Peterson said, his voice heavy with regret. Good people. Work so hard. I rent them that house cheap because they needed help. But I didn't know about the little one. Didn't know she was walking alone. The bull isn't aggressive, Helena assured him, but he's intimidating for a child. I'll move him to the north pasture tomorrow, Peterson said immediately, and I'll clear that path better, make it safer. Nobody told me. If they'd just told me, but that was the problem, Helena realized. People suffering in poverty often didn't ask for help. They suffered silently, trying not to be a burden, trying not to complain, doing the impossible every day just to survive. As Helena drove home that evening, she thought about Sofia's whispered plea that morning. Ma'am, I can't get past the bull. Can you take me to school? Such a small request, such a massive problem behind it. But now, Helena was determined. Sofia wouldn't walk that route alone again. And maybe, just maybe, Helena could help this family in bigger ways too. Because that's what communities were supposed to do. Notice the struggling, help the vulnerable, protect the children. And Sofia Ferreira was going to be protected. Helena arrived at the Ferreira house at 6:45 a.m. the next morning, just as pale dawn light broke over the Oklahoma horizon. The little house was dark except for one window, the kitchen where a single dim bulb illuminated Sofia eating toast at a worn table. When Helena knocked, Lucia Ferreira opened the door immediately, her eyes red-rimmed with exhaustion and gratitude. She wore a hairnet and plastic apron, ready for her shift at the poultry plant. Miss Helena, you came. You really came. Lucia's voice broke. I told you I would, Helena said gently. Is Sofia ready? Sofia appeared behind her mother, backpack already on, her small face lighting up when she saw her teacher. Miss Helena, you're really taking me? Every morning from now on, sweetheart. No more walking through the field. Rodrigo Ferreira emerged from the back room, a thin man with calloused hands and tired eyes. Miss Helena, we don't know how to thank you. We feel so much shame that we couldn't... Helena raised her hand. Mr. Ferreira, there's no shame in working hard to provide for your family. You're doing everything you can. Let me do this small thing. As Sofia climbed into Helena's car, buckling herself carefully into the back seat, Lucia pressed a small container into Helena's hands. Please, it's just rice and beans, but I made extra. For your lunch, it's all we can give. Helena's throat tightened. This family had almost nothing, yet they were trying to give back. Thank you, Mrs. Ferreira, that's very kind. During the 15-minute drive to school, Sofia chattered happily, the fear that usually marked her mornings completely absent. Miss Helena, I wasn't scared today. I didn't have to see the bull, and I got to sleep a little more because Mama didn't have to wake me so early. Helena glanced in the rearview mirror at Sofia's bright eyes. Tell me, Sofia, how long have you been walking to the bus stop by yourself? Since school started, in August. Before that, I stayed with Mrs. Chen next door, but she moved away. 4 months. This child had been making that terrifying walk alone for 4 months, and no one at school had known. Over the next week, Helena learned more. She learned that Sofia often fell asleep during afternoon lessons because she woke at 5:30 every morning. She learned that the breakfast Sofia ate at school was often her only meal until dinner at 7 p.m. when her parents came home. She learned that Sofia's clothes came from donation bins and her backpack was held together with duct tape. But she also learned that Sofia was brilliant, reading above grade level despite her exhaustion, solving math problems with ease, drawing detailed pictures during art time. This child, given half a chance, could thrive. Helena began bringing extra snacks, granola bars, fruit, crackers, and quietly leaving them in Sofia's desk. She contacted the school counselor about getting the family enrolled in free lunch programs they hadn't known existed. She reached out to local churches about winter coat drives, and every morning she drove to that little house and picked up Sofia, who greeted her with a smile that made every early wake-up worthwhile. Mr. Peterson, true to his word, had moved the bull to a far pasture and cleared the path, even adding a small gate that made the route safer. He'd also knocked $50 off the Ferreira's monthly rent, for maintenance purposes, he told them, though everyone knew it was charity disguised as business. One morning, 3 weeks into the new routine, Sofia whispered from the back seat, "Miss Helena, why are you so nice to me?" Helena's eyes misted. "Because every child deserves to feel safe, Sofia, and because you're brave and smart and special. You deserve people who care about you. My mama and papa, they care. They just have to work a lot." "I know they do, sweetheart. They love you very much. I'm just helping because that's what neighbors do. We help each other." By December, something remarkable had happened. Other teachers at Riverside Elementary, learning about Sofia's situation, began helping too. The art teacher donated warm clothes her daughter had outgrown. The principal arranged for Sofia to eat breakfast in the cafeteria before classes started. The school nurse made sure Sofia had proper winter boots. And Sofia? She blossomed. Her grades improved. Her exhaustion lessened. Her fearful demeanor transformed into confidence. One afternoon, as Helena dropped Sofia at home, Lucia waited on the porch with tears streaming down her face. In her hands was an envelope. "Rodrigo got a promotion. Day shift supervisor. We can work normal hours now. We can take Sofia to school ourselves starting next month." She pressed the envelope into Helena's hands. "This is $300. It's all we saved. Please take it. You gave us our daughter back." Helena gently pushed the money back. "Mrs. Ferreira, keep that money. Buy Sofia new school supplies. Buy yourself something you need. The gift of seeing Sofia happy and safe. That's payment enough." As Helena drove away, she glanced in her mirror at the little house, where Sofia waved enthusiastically from the porch, no longer the frightened child who'd whispered desperately for help. Sometimes, Helena thought, changing a life didn't require grand gestures. Sometimes it just required showing up, paying attention, and caring enough to help. One small child, one morning drive, one community that remembered what it meant to protect its own. 3 months after Helena began picking up Sofia, the story of the scared little girl and her dedicated teacher had quietly spread through the small Oklahoma community. It started when Principal Margaret Davis mentioned it during a school board meeting, praising Helena's dedication. From there, it rippled outward. The local newspaper, the Claremore Daily Progress, ran a small story. "Teacher goes extra mile for student in need." The article didn't name Sofia or her family, protecting their privacy, but it highlighted the challenges rural families faced with transportation and childcare. That article changed everything. Within a week, the school received donations, warm winter coats, new backpacks, school supplies. But more importantly, parents began paying closer attention to their own children's classmates, noticing other kids who might be struggling silently. A retired bus driver named George Hamilton called the school. "I live near the Peterson farm area. I could pick up a few kids in the morning on my way into town. No charge, just want to help." A local church started a Morning Angel program, matching volunteers with families who needed transportation help. Within a month, 12 children who'd been walking dangerous or difficult routes were getting safe rides to school. But the biggest change came for the Ferreira family themselves. In January, Mr. Peterson called Rodrigo Ferreira to his farmhouse. The old rancher had a proposal. "I'm getting too old to manage this whole property alone. I need someone I can trust to help. Fence repairs, equipment maintenance, checking on the cattle. It's 20 hours a week, pays $15 an hour. You interested?" Rodrigo had stared at him in disbelief. "You're offering me a second job?" "I'm offering you a flexible second job that you can do on weekends and evenings, close to home, so you're around more for your daughter." Peterson's weathered face softened. "I should have been paying more attention to my tenants all along. Let me make it right now." The extra income was modest, but it meant everything. It meant Sofia's parents could occasionally be home before dark. It meant they could afford small things, new shoes when needed, birthday presents, a used television so Sofia could watch educational programs. In February, Helena noticed another change. Sofia had made friends, real friends. 3 little girls who sat with her at lunch invited her to their birthday parties, included her in playground games. Children who, like Sofia, came from working-class families and understood struggle without judgment. One afternoon, Sofia brought Helena a drawing, a crayon picture of a small house, a big teacher standing beside a little girl, and a bull in the distance, no longer scary but just part of the landscape. At the bottom, in Sofia's careful first-grade handwriting, "Miss Helena saves me. Thank you for being my angel." Helena kept that drawing in her desk drawer, pulling it out on difficult days when teaching felt overwhelming, when bureaucracy frustrated her, when she wondered if she was making any difference at all, because she had made a difference, an enormous one. In March, the school held a community appreciation evening. Parents, teachers, and local volunteers gathered in the cafeteria. Principal Davis stood at the microphone and told Sofia's story, still protecting the family's identity, but highlighting how one teacher's attention had sparked a community movement. "We have 12 children now receiving morning transportation through our volunteer program," Davis announced. "We've provided winter clothing to 43 students, and we've connected 17 families with resources they didn't know existed, free meal programs, utility assistance, healthcare services." She paused, her voice thick with emotion. "All because one teacher noticed a scared little girl and decided to help. That's what we're supposed to do: notice, care, act." The applause was thunderous. Helena, sitting in the back row, felt tears streaming down her face. After the event, Lucia and Rodrigo Ferreira approached her. Sofia stood between them, wearing a new dress her mother had sewn from donated fabric. "Miss Helena," Rodrigo said, his voice formal but warm, "in our country we have a saying, quem salva uma vida, salva o mundo inteiro. Whoever saves one life, saves the entire world. You saved our daughter. You saved our family. We will never forget." Lucia pressed something into Helena's hands, a small wooden cross, hand-carved with delicate detail. "Rodrigo made this. It's not expensive, but it's made with love. For you." Helena clutched the cross, unable to speak. Sofia hugged her waist tightly. That night, driving home through the dark Oklahoma countryside, Helena thought about how it all started. A frightened whisper. "Ma'am, I can't get past the bull. Can you take me to school?" Such a simple request had revealed such a complex problem, but it had also revealed something beautiful, that communities could still come together, that people still cared, that small acts of kindness created ripples that spread far beyond what anyone could predict. Sofia would never again walk that path alone in fear. But more than that, she'd never again believe she was invisible, unimportant, unworthy of help. And neither would the dozens of other children whose families had been quietly struggling, now connected to a community that finally saw them, finally cared, finally acted. One scared child, one dedicated teacher, one community transformed. Sometimes changing the world started with a whispered plea in a classroom doorway at 7:43 on a Tuesday morning. 1 year after that frightening morning, Riverside Elementary held its annual spring program. Parents filled the auditorium, cameras ready, as second graders performed songs about friendship and community. Sofia Ferreira stood in the front row, wearing a white dress Lucia had carefully pressed that morning. Her hair was braided with colorful ribbons, her smile confident and bright. She was no longer the exhausted, frightened child who'd whispered desperately for help. Helena sat in the audience beside Rodrigo and Lucia, who'd taken the afternoon off work to attend. Rodrigo now managed his own small crew at the poultry plant. Lucia had been promoted to quality supervisor. The family had saved enough to buy a used car. Nothing fancy, but reliable enough to take Sofia to school themselves most days. Though Helena still picked her up occasionally, just because. When the program ended, Sofia ran to Helena, throwing her arms around her teacher. "Did you see me, Miss Helena? I sang all the words." "You were perfect, minha querida," Helena said, using the Portuguese endearment she'd learned from Sofia's parents. Principal Davis approached with a photographer from the local newspaper. "Helena, we're doing a follow-up story on the Morning Angel program. Would you and Sofia be willing to—" "No photos of Sofia," Helena interrupted gently but firmly. "But I'll talk about the program. Because some things remained private. Some families deserve dignity without publicity." That evening, as Helena drove home, she passed Peterson's farm. The old bull, the one that had inadvertently sparked everything, grazed peacefully in the distance. He was just an animal, doing what animals do, unaware he'd been part of something that changed lives. Helena's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Miss Morais, this is Principal Davis. Next year, we're creating a full transportation program for rural students. The school board approved funding. They're calling it the Sofia Initiative. Thought you should know. Helena pulled over, tears blurring her vision. A program. An actual funded program. All because she'd listened to one frightened child's whisper. She texted back, "Don't call it the Sofia Initiative. Call it the Morning Angel Program. There are many children who need angels." That night, Helena placed Sofia's crayon drawing on her refrigerator next to the wooden cross Rodrigo had carved. Reminders that teaching wasn't just about math and reading, it was about seeing the invisible, hearing the whispered pleas, showing up when it mattered most. One scared child had whispered for help, one teacher had listened, and an entire community had learned what it meant to truly care for its own. Sometimes miracles didn't require supernatural intervention. Sometimes they just required human compassion, attention, and the willingness to drive 15 minutes out of your way every morning. Sofia Ferreira would never walk past that bull alone in fear again, and dozens of other children would never have to walk alone either, because someone finally listened, someone finally cared, someone finally acted, and that made all the difference. "Ma'am, I can't get past the bull. Can you take me to school?" whispered the scared child to teacher.